everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. This video is a bit of a follow-up to my video where I looked at AP's earliest prints from 2000 to 2006. At some point in the video, I mentioned that old themes that aren't really popular anymore in Lolita fashion is a topic that interests me, so I decided to come back and film another video where I talk about a few themes in Lolita fashion that I think were once more popular than they are today. There are no themes in Lolita that like disappear completely or don't exist, and that's mostly fueled by the fact that people continue to wear their older dresses and seek out older dresses through the secondhand market. As well, brands sometimes randomly put out themes that they haven't put out on a dress in like 5+ years, so nothing really disappears, and I love that about Lolita fashion. What I'm talking about today is themes that used to be released by multiple brands on like a yearly basis, and now we see them released maybe by like one particular brand or just much less frequently. And this video is just a short list of a few I could think of. I think that there are much more than what I thought of, which is 5 themes, and I would love to know of some themes that you think used to be more popular than they are now. Let's get into the video. Oh, and last thing, sweet is definitely overrepresented in this video because I think themes in prints generally change more frequently in sweet than they do in classic and gothic. The first one that I have is ballet, and this is one of the themes that kind of sparked the idea for this video. Now, I don't think that ballet was ever like the biggest theme in Lolita, but I think that it was a lot bigger when Lolita first started forming, even in the late 90s to the early 2000s. The reason I say this is because Emily Temple Q, one of the sort of leading or founding brands that led to the Lolita aesthetic, used to put out a lot of ballet items. And then Meta, Baby, and Angelic Pretty also released ballet themed items on a more regular basis. Basically there was ballet themed items being released by at least 4 brands pretty much every year for a period. The trend for ballet themes continued a bit into the 2010s, but Angelic Pretty is the only Japanese brand that has put out a ballet themed print, with that being Snow Glass Dome, in the last 5 years, as that dress was released in 2018. However, I think as a sort of leftover of the ballet theme trend, the toe shoe socks from AP remain popular to this day. I should have mentioned this before, but I am going to be focusing on Japanese brands, and that's mostly because there's more Japanese brands cataloged on Lol Library, which is where I get most of my research from. Personally, I really like the theme of ballet. I think it's very cute. I did used to do ballet up until I was about 15 or 16, I believe. I don't wear a ton of dresses that feature like people on them, but I think it's really sweet to have a theme that's based more on an activity than just an item, because it kind of shows how you like can carry femininity into your activities or your daily life. Like you can do ballet as an activity if you want to incorporate like a more feminine practice into it. I don't know. Ballet I think is just really pretty and suits the Lolita aesthetic, so I would love to see more prints come back with the ballet theme. I know that Meta also put out a solid at one point that was kind of inspired by a ballerina dress, and I think that's really pretty and a really creative take on the ballet theme. Next is what used to be the one fabric to rule them all, gobelin. So gobelin is basically a fabric that is a woven pattern. It can be any type of pattern, and it's most commonly associated with like upholstery furniture fabric because it's usually quite thick and sturdy. In Lolita, it's most commonly associated with florals, the kind of grandma couch aesthetic. Pretty much every major brand has released a gobelin dress at some point in the old school or early Lolita fashion days, when the brand's aesthetics were less particular. There was gobelin dresses being released by AP, Innocent World, Baby, Meta, Moitié, whatever, you name it, there is a gobelin dress. I think it's because this fabric is just very reminiscent of anything older or historical, and with the thick woven fabric combined with lace, it creates a very opulent image. It's this really, really detailed pattern of flowers. So I think it suits the Lolita aesthetic super well. Of course, Meta in particular is known for their older floral Gobelin sets. This fabric is definitely like quintessential to the old school and neo old school aesthetic, but dresses that are true Gobelin aren't being released as often anymore. Recently, in some Gobelin releases, there was the Kitten Gobelin series in 2018 from Korean indie brand Life, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And Innocent World also put out the Rose Gobelin GSK in 2017. I do think that part of the reason that this fabric died out in popularity is because of its association with like oldness and antique things. For a while, the old school aesthetic wasn't popular, and on top of that, it's pretty natural that things that are associated with old are moved aside in favor of new trends and new themes as people try and be like creative and different with what's popular or what's considered normal within the fashion. I personally really like Gobelin, and I'm glad that it's kind of made a comeback because I think it can be quite versatile. It's a very bold pattern for sure, but there's always a lot of colors in the print, and florals is a pretty basic pattern that you can kind of match with anything. So I feel like I've seen a lot of really nice cords with a lot of different aesthetics ranging from like old school sweet to gothic to classic using the fabric. On top of that, Gobelin can be creative. You have the old Meta series that was called Teddy Gobelin or Gobelin Teddy, I don't remember, which had teddy bears in the floral pattern. And they've also recently released a cotton dress that kind of mimics it, called the Teddy Gardening series. So I think it's really interesting that they're kind of reconceptualizing this old school aesthetic into a sort of mixed modern and old school look today. Now, this one I think died out purely due to oversaturation and has only lost popularity in the last couple years, and that's crosses in sweet, with Angelic Pretty being the biggest offender. This basically became a meme at some point, that every dress that AP put out would have random crosses snuck in. I'm pretty sure there's like a cherry dress, like Cherry Marguerite maybe, that has random crosses on it. It just doesn't really make any sense. For example, in 2021, AP only released one dress that had crosses on it, and that was a special set of Dream Cat Go Round. Versus in 2020, when there was 9 dresses or series that had crosses on it from AP. Personally, I'm not particularly sad to see this theme go. I do think that it's a bit different for Western Lolitas to see crosses slapped everywhere. There's not the same strength of Christianity in Japan, and it's more of like a cool aesthetic that you can utilize, where for me, as someone who is very much not a Christian, it's kind of weird to have it slapped like literally into random places for the aesthetic. I don't really have anything against it, and I don't really mind. I think it can look really cool in gothic and stuff like that, but in sweet I just don't really like it. So hopefully AP doesn't start bringing back random crosses everywhere, because if I see like a cross in a mermaid print or something, I'm gonna lose it. This is another one that kind of sparked my interest in this topic and was featured in my AP Earliest Prints video, and that's Poodles / Parisian style theme. Since 2017, there have been 3 series with Poodles released, and all of them have been from AP, though I also did find 2 different Taobao releases featuring Poodles, but that's 5 dresses since 2017, which is not a lot, especially considering that looking back between the years like 2005 to 2010, there were poodle themed items being released by major sweet brands, Meta, Baby, and AP every single year. Poodles to me go along with the sort of Parisian aesthetic that AP and Baby in particular used to really love. Some examples from AP are the Mode Girl series in 2006, Magical Étoile in 2008, Promenade de Paris in 2013. Now, AP did put out a Parisian themed dress in 2018, which was Mademoiselle de Paris. And of course, like I mentioned before, there was the lovely Poodle series, but these didn't really get that much love lovely poodle. I know a lot of Western Lolitas didn't really like the colors and felt the cut was a little bit simple and the proportion of the prints were kind of weird. Baby's most recent Parisian inspired release, on the other hand, seems to be from 2014. There was 2 of them, Esprit de la Belle Époque à Paris et La Belle Rose de Paris. Meta's last poodle print is from 2011. So you can really see how poodles and Parisian theme faded out in popularity over time. So I don't really know why this theme in particular faded. It seems to perfectly still match the Lolita aesthetic of today, which like AP does that sort of mature sweet thing sometimes, which you can easily use that like vintage Parisian French woman aesthetic for. And then on the other hand, Poodles, like you can do, and then on the other hand for Poodles, AP constantly puts out like toy/animal mascot things, and Candy Chan is still an AP mascot, even though she's like ignored in the canon of AP mascots, unfortunately. I guess this one is really just a matter of things coming in and out of style in terms of trends, but I would really like to see it come back because, I mean, poodles and dogs in general are an underused theme in Lolita and they can be so cute, so I wish they would get more love. I think a puppy themed print similar to like Cat Tea Party would just be adorable, or like a puppy gardening thing, you know, like if we can do bunnies, bears, cats, dolphins, whatever, like mice, why can't we do dogs too? I don't know. And the last one that I have for today is not so much a specific theme as it is styling, and that's Hime Lolita, as in like Hime Gyaru inspired Lolita, or the mix of Hime Gyaru and Lolita. This was really big at a certain point, and you can see the inspiration or the kind of like blend of Gyaru makeup and hair in a lot of like older AP ads, even in the styling of how some of the AP designers looked like with their hair and makeup when they came to visit, or when there's pictures of them. And you can just see it when you look at old street snaps and like pictures of the time. The makeup and hair is clearly inspired by Gao style. And I really love this aesthetic. I like both sides of it. I like seeing Lolita dresses worn by gals in like not 100% Lolita way, like using things that are typically non-Lolita, like open-toed sandals with no socks, no petticoat or very small one, that kind of thing. And I also really like the like full Lolita cord using Gao hair and makeup like I mentioned before. It's funny to me because when I think of Hime Lolita, I still think of this style of Lolita where it's like big hair, big makeup, florals, princessy elements, instead of the more historical, Rococo, Victorian inspired aesthetic that is associated with Hime Lolita today. Taobao brands in particular put out a ton of this like very historical inspired Lolita. It's personally just not for me, especially in terms of sweet. I prefer the like Hime Lolita of ye olden days with sweet because I feel like it's a little bit more unique with Lolita. I don't really like things that look like a historical costume that's just like chopped off at the knee to make it Lolita length. It's just not my cup of tea, but I understand why it appeals to so many people. But yes, to me, like every time I Google Hime Lolita and I don't get a bunch of gal inspired stuff, it makes me very sad. And of course, if there's anyone who's into Gyaru who's watching my video and I said anything incorrect, feel free to let me know in the comments below. So those were the 5 themes that I came up with that used to be more popular than they are today. There were a lot of themes that I could think of that I felt had just lost popularity within the community, but when I looked up the actual releases, they still were being put out from brands regularly. And that was for things like musical instruments, though I didn't find much related to sweet. Library/book prints, Meta is still putting out a lot. I also thought of mermaids, but there's still a ton of marine prints and they're too close, so I didn't really want to include both. And of course, there's things that have just changed over time. Like there used to be more appliques because there weren't prints. There used to be a bigger variety of textiles, like velvet and flocked dresses used to be more popular. But for various reasons, both from brands and within the community in terms of like storage and washing issues. The popularity of them have kind of shifted. If there's any big themes I missed, please let me know in the comments below. I'm sure there's plenty that I didn't think of, and themes in Lolita always seem to come and go. OTT Sweet with Milky Planet and Sugary Carnival wasn't popular for a while, and now it's back in full force, and I'm sure it'll fade very soon, probably, given the trend cycle. But I think it's really interesting how Lolita tends to create a theme, let it go, bring it back, but nothing ever fully disappears because there's always like that one person who it's their niche, and it's really cute. It really shows how closely you can hold one particular theme to your heart and keep wearing it even if brand aesthetics and community aesthetics change. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a lovely day, of course, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, bye bye!